This is B2B Enablement, a Klyck.io podcast created to inspire sales and marketing leaders navigating digital transformation. I'm your host, Dave Carr, and on this show, we'll share actionable insights to build winning digital strategies and deliver better sales results with your customers. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the podcast. Today we're going to talk about why B2B businesses need to have a video marketing strategy. And today I'm joined by not only a really cool guest, but a personal friend of mine, Drew Franklin, who is a marketing specialist at Altec. And when it comes to video marketing, there's not a lot of people I know that have a better understanding of the concept and a portfolio of accomplishments of what they've done with video. So I'm really excited to have Drew on the podcast today. And just to start out, Drew, if you could just give our listeners a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll hop right into the topic.
No, I appreciate it, Dave, and I appreciate the kudos. I don't think I've ever been introed quite like that, but I'm Drew Franklin. I'm a marketing specialist at Altec here in Birmingham, Alabama. Born and raised here in Birmingham, and spent about 10 plus years in marketing B2B space, primarily in manufacturing. I had a little short stint in the SaaS world, which was super fun. But man, just picked up video in about 2013, 2014, and then just kind of have just run wild with it ever since then into my marketing career.
Great. Well, I think, especially in the current environment we're in, with so many things changing with COVID-19 and B2B marketing teams trying to figure out how to be more digital in their strategy, video, I think, hands down, is one of the hottest topics. So I think that this discussion today is going to be really relevant to a lot of people that are listening. And I think that there's probably people listening that are at all different stages of their journey with video, some that are just getting started, some that may be more advanced. So we'll touch on a number of different elements of the topic, just so that no matter where you are on your video journey, you can take something away from this podcast. So with that in mind, just opening up, Drew, if you could just kind of start out at the most elementary level, talk to us about what is video marketing, why should B2B marketers care, and how may they get started?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely give you the Webster's definition of video marketing, and that is the strategic marketing approach of creating and distributing video content with a goal in mind of attracting, retaining, and converting the defined audience of viewers. And so with that in mind, a lot of people have seen it you've seen this wave, right? Like what you said, Dave, video marketing has come in different shapes and forms. But I think we're finally getting to a point where marketers have really come to grip of like, this is a necessity.
Yeah.
And being able to really highlight that by providing some goals and being able to create and distribute properly.
Yeah. And I think sometimes in thinking about what video marketing is, it's also helpful to think about what it's not. And I know in prep, we talked a little bit about, sort of what not to do. You want to maybe touch on a couple of those things as well?
Yeah, I mean, what not to do. I know many marketers know that they should be using video. And I've seen a lot of folks, unfortunately, just be able they created a video and they put it out on their homepage, and then they're just like, check that box, I did a video. But there's so many other things, so many other small details that help the long form benefits of the video that take place. Thinking about how you're creating the content to really the subject matter of the content. With that goal in mind, creating some smart goals. That's what a lot of people, they're just like, let's just create content for creating content's sake, which can be good in impromptu, maybe event situations. But really, if you're wanting to create a campaign and add video element to it, there really needs to be a smart goal set up and being able to establish that. And then the long-term benefits of that is creating video that you can then have a place where you can distribute it, whether that's through email, through your website, through social, and then being able to really hone in all those things and really add value to your customer by answering a question maybe.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really interesting too, you had listed a statistic from Cisco, which estimates that video traffic in the near future is going to make up ultimately as much as 80% of all consumer internet traffic. And I think that sort of reiterates, why it is so important to have video as a part of your strategy. And going back to your point of making sure that it's aligned to your bigger goals, in the same way that you may have started with a blog, 5, 6, 7 years ago, in terms of how you want to SEO optimize it, how do you want to make that piece of content fit your target. It's really the same thing. It's just a different channel and a different way of connecting. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started with your marketing strategy, your video marketing strategy at Altec. And I know you've also done that with some other companies you've been with, like Spock Automation. So
yeah, so how we started our video marketing strategy, I guess I'll go back to when video became kind of real prevalent for me. I first picked up, and I've told this to several college students when they're like, I don't know what to do with video. And all the time I pull out this thing. Does anybody know? I mean, it's your iPhone, right?
Right.
I'm like, you have one of the most powerful, most sophisticated cameras on the market. And you take it for, at least I do. I take it for granted all the time. I was like, when I first shot my very first business to business video, I shot it on a flip camera. Do you remember that, Dave? Flip camera?
Absolutely.
I mean, it maxed out at like 720p, which was like super crispy for 2009.
Yep.
And it flipped out, a USB flip out, and you can plug it into your computer, upload the footage. And I shot just a truck video to send out to our dealership network at my first job out of school. And you would have think people just lost their mind. They were like, this is amazing. And it was literally just like me driving in this lifted truck, and had some like cool music in the background with terrible titles that were like flashing in and out. And I say all that, it's just getting started, right? Mm-hmm. And then going into in kind of 2014, when DSLRs really became widely available on kind of a consumer level, and your smaller DSLRs being able to shoot video, and that whole 1080p world kind of just opened our eyes to, man, this could be useful. And I really just kind of doubled down on that. From a marketing perspective, I really thought this was going to be something that's going to be super needed for every marketer, especially if you're like a solo marketer, which I was at Spock Automation. I was the only marketing guy at the time. And I was like, I'm going to use video, and we're going to use this for all kinds of product information, for culture videos, for internal communication announcements, customer testimonials. And that's what we did. I mean, we did everything off my small Canon Rebel T3i, and it worked. And being able to, I jokingly tell people I got my master's on YouTube following guys like Peter McKinnon and Caleb Wojcik and Caleb Pike. I mean, a lot of these guys are just on YouTube, and they just did like free training courses how to shoot video with your DSLR. And how does that tie back to our video marketing strategy and setting that up? That's where we really said, where does video play into all the tools we're already using, whether that's a sales rep needing to reach out to even a cold or hot prospect, or how are we going to put video inside of our email campaign, or heck, like the display campaigns you'd probably have running on YouTube or Google right now with that 6-second pre-roll ad on YouTube. And where does a customer testimonial fit maybe in your funnel? And all those things that we've kind of developed over time at Spock Automation, you can see all those things and how even video plays into your CRM. There's a lot of tools out there like Wistia and Vidyard, and there's probably a couple hundred video hosting platforms that sync up with your CRM and all the data that comes with that. That's another thing that kind of plays into that strategy. And leading up to where we've come into at Altec is being able to really identify like the value of video. When I came into working at Altec, it was at a very broad scope of responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of narrowed myself into a internal communications and video expert within our marketing organization. And so I was tasked with like, how do you do customer testimonials, and what's the value of that? I think the other thing that marketers may struggle with in being a kind of this modern day marketer is really identifying the value of video and being able to manage that up the chain, manage that up to not only just to your marketing leader, but really to the executives, because video, it can be expensive, but also like you can do a lot of things. Again, back to this is not just for college students. Your iPhone can be used in the B2B world. And I mean, heck, this iPhone right here shoots 4K at 60 frames, so you can get some wicked good high quality footage and being able to, but again, it's all about telling that story and getting back to, does it fit within our goals, so we can then place that within our different campaign modes and being able to measure that and be able to show value. And does it does it add value to the business at the end?
Yeah, 100%. It really is mind-blowing when you think about how many capabilities we have just in our pocket and with our phone. And in prep, we were talking a little bit about LinkedIn and how powerful LinkedIn can be for B2B in using video. It's just, it makes the algorithm go crazy, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but the testing that we've done, we see exponentially higher reach when we're using video, and you literally can use your phone. I think that's one of the things that, if you're listening to this and you're a beginner and you're just trying to get started, don't think that you have to go spend a lot of money. You can use those tools. And you mentioned some others too. You mentioned Wistia. That's a great place to start. Vidyard is another great company. We actually use them as well in some of our marketing to host your videos and to even use it for your sales team. I feel like we could have an entire podcast just on the types of platforms and resources that are out there, to use video with. When you guys are thinking about how to structure video for your strategy, and I know that, of course, it's got to tie back to your campaigns, ultimately what you want to do from a Marcom perspective, but even SEO, right? And maybe could you just share some examples with our listeners around when you're developing one of those campaigns, what you're thinking about in your goals across the board, whether it's for search, whether it's for content, or leading the outcomes in a sales funnel?
Yeah, I mean, I know one thing that we've always done is identifying like who's going to be kind of our subject, if you will, like in a customer testimonial. When that campaign brief or that campaign conversation does take place, we're already identifying maybe that 1 to 3 different customers that we could ID as like, hey, they would be a good fit for this particular campaign. I can give you an example, like if we're wanting to go in and we've got inventory for the crane market and the tree care industry. Well, it's like, let's go find, our top 10 customers who fit that bill, and then being able to reach out like, hey, would you be interested to just tell your story of how you use a crane in the tree care industry? And then that way we can then start crafting some questions on like, tell me a little bit about like how does safety play in using a crane within tree care industry? And we've also, you go into, basic blocking and tackling, looking at your Google Analytics or any other type of analytics that you may have. For us, and being able to search Google Analytics on search keywords off of our website, or like search questions, because we have a search area on our website, and we noticed that, how, like, it could be how to operate my crane or how to safely change out something on my crane. And so that was one way that how we're fitting into that SEO factor, and plus video. I mean, and the other thing is like, well, Drew, like I can't go to my customer right now because we're going through quarantine. One thing that we've done recently, talking about video and being able to utilize it, you could teach your customer how to either record themselves on the phone, or you can do a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, any other type of interview platform like that, and just host a conversation, rip that audio and put it into like a Final Cut or a Premiere program, and then just have the audio playing, and you can just create some graphics over that and then export that out. Boom, you've got a video. And again, it answers that question that fits into your overall campaign. And that's some ways we can do that. And you mentioned just talking about uploading natively to different social platforms. I know Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, there's different ratios and different aspects that you'd have to create for those platforms and kind of where they fit. But I know I can speak for like LinkedIn and Facebook specifically, like the difference between uploading into the app, like uploading your video file straight in man, gives you so much more reach organically, and also just so much more engagement because of that autoplay feature. But I know LinkedIn specifically just gives so much just go juice on being able to put video out there, because I don't think a lot of people are doing it. I think I see videos on my feed a lot because I follow a lot of video marketers.
Right.
But I think if you're in the B2B world, especially if you're in sales, man, it is a sweet, sweet time to be uploading your own video content that's not pushy, but it's educational, and you're just giving away value and expecting nothing in return. And I think that's where people are going to be naturally drawn into video, because they want to hear your story, especially if you get some valuable stuff to share with them that's going to help solve problems. And that's what essentially, marketers could really reflect and see themselves as problem solvers in a B2B marketing world through video.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your comments you made about multi-channeling too, right? So you could literally use something like Zoom. And so, and by the way, this is one of the first podcasts that we're going to do with video included. And whether, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing the stream and the recording that Drew and I are doing, but we're also going to rip this audio and we're going to use that to create a podcast. One thing that I like to do a lot is to even take snippets of that audio and create little motion videos that you can use on LinkedIn, because again, you're driving the algorithm, but you're having an easy, 30-second snippet to connect with someone. You can add subtitles. There's a lot of really great platforms out there. Veed.io is one we use. Wave.co is another one that's really cool. It not only will add subtitles, but it even gives you the what do you call it?
Audiogram?
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The audiogram that will actually go on your videos as well. And all of those have free versions if you're just looking to get started. Even the paid versions are, $9-10 a month. So it's just such a great time to have the tools, to do those kind of marketing activities with video. One other thing that I think is important to talk about as well is just analytics. So creating the content is great, but how are we really measuring it? How do we see it driving results? Can you give us some ways that you guys are tracking your results in video today?
Absolutely, and that's one thing that you can really showcase how video is working harder for you. Even this one case scenario that I used when I was at Spock Automation is that we've created all these customer testimonials. You recorded a bunch of webinars that you hosted, and maybe even some product demonstrations that you've hosted, and then being able to record those, put those in a, whether it's a lead magnet funnel or like in a call to action thing where they can download and preview it. I remember a specific case working at Spock Automation where we did a video, and it was a short, just 30-second video that was tied to a blog post, and we used LinkedIn because they're notorious for giving away house money. So they gave us a $50 credit to promote a few posts. Of course, we took free money because, small family-owned manufacturing company. We took that $50, put it behind this post, and got, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it was like 40 different leads. But out of one of those leads, a guy out in Denver, Colorado, worked for what would be a distributor company in the oil and gas industry, watched the full video, came to the blog post, read the full blog post, clicked on the call to action button down at the very bottom, and then downloaded the pre-recorded webinar that we had, watched the full webinar. Now we're able to know he watched the full webinar because we were using Wistia to do view tracking. So I could see he watched the entire thing, and then got to the end of that, and we had a call to action that prompts within Wistia to then contact us, or it took him to the contact page. And then within that, we're able to track all of this within our CRM. I'm able to see each action take place. And then it took to a contact us page. And then like 3 weeks later, this particular distributor was at our global headquarters talking about custom packaging for the first $1 million order. All that because we did a 30-second video paired with a blog post behind house money from LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn. And it created essentially the first $1 million order. Now, there were some front end conversations that were taking place, but video kind of helped push that person over the edge. I'm not saying that marketing should claim all $1 million of that, but we helped.
Right.
And so I always like to bring that conversation in. And where we see that at Altec is being able to, again, share our customers' stories through testimonials. And we've really ramped that up the past couple of years. And it has been tremendous with the response and that our customers, and not only our customers get to tell their stories, but we've got other customers, instead of having to go seek people out to tell their story, they're like, oh man, I saw, Tree Care of New York tell his story about how Altec Capital was able to finance a big order he had to get this new line of work in the New York area. Man, I'd love to tell about my story about how Altec Service came in and really set us up for success when we were doing storm work during this particular hurricane. And we just had all this buzz come around the brand and this kind of brand affinity through our testimonial work, but also, having all the pre-roll videos that go in with our inventory program. And we've got a lot of stock inventory that we're able to draw people into that conversation. And it is really, and being able to track that, you asked about analytics on the front end of that, being able to track this, whether you have an analytics dashboard or in your CRM system. I can't stress that enough. Like, you have to have systems that talk to one another.
Yes.
Not just a one-way feed. I really do believe it's got to be two-way. You got to have some syncing in there. I just know it works a lot better, and you're able to make a value statement when you're able to see, like, okay, these things are working, and we're actually, every time we put in this $1, we're able to translate that into a specific amount of money on revenue for the business. And because if you don't, I think it's going to be an uphill battle if you're not able to connect the dots on a lot of those things.
Those, first of all, incredibly good examples. And I think that it does prove the value that video can bring. But even more importantly, having the systems and the processes in place to track it, because you're exactly right. I mean, if you have your CRM set up properly and you're looking at how that customer is going through the funnel, and you're able to manage that in partnership with your sales team. And we, on this podcast, we talk about that a lot, the need to align marketing and sales even better. But having those systems put together is absolutely critical in managing it. Back to your earlier point, it doesn't take a lot to just make a video and throw it on your homepage, but what's it doing? So having the tools to manage it all the way through is great. And thank you, Drew, for sharing those examples, because I think those are really helpful. Getting back to, kind of some of the folks that are doing it right. I know you had a list of some companies that, you kind of wanted to share as benchmarks for some of the folks that might be listening. Who are some of those companies today, B2B wise, that are really doing a good job?
Yeah, definitely on the B2B segment, I do believe, I hate to toot my own horn here, but I do think that if you look at what Spock Automation is doing right now, I don't work there, but I know a lot of the awesome folks that are doing incredible work there right now, how they've doubled down on using video. And this started a little bit before COVID-19 and quarantine. That's kind of the season of life we're in right now. Mm-hmm. But Spock Automation has rolled out a video series called 2-Minute Drives. And normally a lot of the training and a lot of the in-depth training you would get is really for people who've probably bought some serious equipment with this particular company, and you're able to come in. But man, they said, you know what, we're going to add value. We're going to meet our customers, meet prospects, meet the whole oil and gas industry where they're at. And they have unloaded close to 30 plus videos at the moment on just insane amount of tribal knowledge on electrical automation, variable frequency drives, and well monitoring for the oil and gas industry. And it is just exploded their opportunity to just connect, not only with their customers as a reconnect touch point, but prospects. People are, I just talked with one of the executives not too long ago. He said, man, we've reconnected with people that didn't want to do business with us several years ago that have come back and been like, man, you guys are doing it right, and we believe in kind of that value you're offering, and they just want to talk again. So, I could see where that's a company definitely worth highlighting. There's customer testimonial work happening all over the place at Altec. That's just one thing that was kind of near and dear to my heart. I really wanted to get launched off the ground, and that's one. It's just been incredible. I talked about like doing customer testimonials and then having people come to us and say like, man, like we want you to tell our story. And so that's pretty cool. And then also just talking about different initiatives within the electric utility industry, but some other B2B resources that are video based. So I mentioned Wistia as a video hosting platform, but I think early, and you can look back on their blog post, probably mid 2014. Again, this is around the same time I kind of jumped into video marketing. They really just said, you know what, we're going to take a firm stance. We're not just a video hosting platform company. We are going to be like a video education company. And so they just created, I mean, a huge, and it's ongoing. Like every month, they're creating a video library, just content. And it's anything from like how to set up your DSLR to use video, how to properly use a webcam for video, how to do a DIY office video studio, all those things. I mean, I would highly recommend going to wistia.com under their library section. If you're looking at getting started with video, they're doing it right. You've got, I know Drift is another company that has delved into the video world, but they started as just an instant chat feature on your website. But they've really kind of doubled down in the past year or so on video. They used to do their former director of marketing did a coffee chats with CMOs, and he would just like go around town and just have a coffee chat with a different CMO. As far as like tailoring that content to where they are in a B2B space, I thought was pretty genius. You've got podcasts who are taking the audio and then creating a video format. I give kudos to Dave and his team at Klyck for doing that.
Thank you.
But also you've got folks like Win Big Media, Philip Stutz, based out of DC. He's doing something weekly like this. Gary Vaynerchuk's always on the cutting edge of doing something. Yeah. He's been just preaching video, got to do video. But he's also backing it up. He's like telling you what to do and showing you how to do it, which is pretty impressive at the same time. Content and advisory, Robert Rose, another just kind of like marketing hero of mine. They're doing it right. Another group, Chris Walker.
Yes.
Refine Labs.
Yep.
Yeah. And Dave, I know that you and I both follow him, and he's doing it right. I mean, it's just as a guy who came not from marketing, came from like engineering into marketing. So I give him all the props in the world for doing that podcast into ripping the audio and creating a video from that. And that's one of probably thousands of people who are doing it right. But that's some of the folks that I love to just kind of highlight when I give my use case examples.
Every single one of those, I think, is a fantastic example. And what I really love about some of those examples you gave, I think they do a really good job of kind of covering what I think are a big three elements of when you're creating your video marketing strategy, which is, are you trying to build sales funnel, which kudos again to folks like Spock Automation that are obviously killing it doing that. Are you building brand? So like what you guys are doing at Altec, you're doing some fantastic customer testimonial videos, you're building your brand, or are you trying to educate your audience, which I think, again, getting back to folks like Wistia and Drift that have done such a good job of making educational content that people want to engage with. So I think all of those are really, really great examples of folks that are doing it well. So
Dave, I'll add just one more thing that we touched on earlier, man, just talking about setting yourself apart by using video, especially if you're a B2B sales rep. And we talked about this earlier before we jumped on the call, but how incredible value would be added to just if you were sending a cold message to a prospect, or even like someone who's like lukewarm, and you're really wanting to kind of push them through to drive, whether it's through a demo, a quick discovery call, something like that. If you sent a tailored message like saying, hey Dave, I noticed that you've researched and downloaded X number of things off our website. With those resources, most people that have downloaded similar resources have looked at this particular product solution, you name it. And being able to tailor that to really where it fits, where that person's at, I think would set you light years ahead of, hey, my name's Drew Franklin at XYZ Sales. I'm a business development rep. You want to chat? I mean, you see like the the comparison there, it's night and day. But and another thing that I know a lot of folks are probably maybe dealing with right now is how are we going to replace live events? And I think that's where video can shine and set yourself apart. And that's one thing that we're trying to discover at Altec is like we used to launch new products every year at big trade shows. And since those big trade shows are now canceled, we're trying to figure out how do we do a live product launch as if we were doing an Apple keynote or like a Ford Motor Company unveiling the new Ford Mustang. So we're now in the fall, you'll probably see a couple of different product launches from Altec. And we're going to start in the lights and signs industry on unveiling a new product on a live stream format using video. So that's another thing that I would probably encourage at least folks to test the waters, see kind of where they can add value. Doesn't matter what part of the organization you're at.
I know the topic of this podcast is how B2B marketing can use video, but man, you nailed it. I mean, if from a sales perspective, the sales reps, and again, we actually wrote about this in a recent blog, but sales reps that are using social media, and when I say social media, I'm really heavily leaning on LinkedIn, that are using LinkedIn right now and are using video are absolutely rising above. And again, you have a device in your pocket. Use your iPhone, your Android, it doesn't matter. If you're creating simple videos that help connect with people, you're light years ahead. And then Vidyard, I know we've talked about it a couple of times, using Vidyard to create video content that you can send out and connect with your customers just immediately puts you in that top 1%. And then the trade shows too. I mean, there's going to be a total rethinking of how people connect without those the live events and do it virtually. And kudos to you guys for being on that leading edge of trying to figure out a way to do that virtually. So, well, as we get ready to wrap up here, one thing I always try to do with the podcast is leave people with some ideas and concepts that they can go apply immediately, and are easy wins. So if you were to boil it down to just 3 big key takeaways for what you would want to tell somebody listening, what would those big 3 things be?
Yeah, for me, and this was something that I struggle with on the very front end of creating video, and that's making your first video is going to be daunting. And you're constantly going to tell yourself, oh my gosh, I hate myself on camera. I can't do this. Like I look like garbage, whatever that fear is. But man, press record, edit that bad boy, export it, put it out there. Like no one's going to fault you for creating content. No one's going to be like, man, I can't believe they wasted that time. But if it goes back to if it's meeting your goal and it's meeting kind of your target audience and your viewers where they're at, like no one's going to judge you for it. So like go ahead, get in there, make that first video, get over that hurdle. And one big thing is, again, video is a powerful tool. Help yourself by letting video work harder for you. Again, integrate your video into your marketing automation software, your email platform, your website, and create some video ideas, scripts even for your sales reps, and also get a lot of other people in the organization, your HR organization, when they're doing recruiting. Get people comfortable using video and allow video to work harder for you as the marketing organization in a B2B space. And really, the last thing is just understanding how your videos are going to work to really better meet your goals. And really, the sooner you can leverage video, the faster you're going to see the kind of success within your marketing team.
3 great, solid points. Well, Drew, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Drew and I are both video nerds. We love to talk about all things related to not just how to produce video, but to how to use it properly in your marketing strategy. And maybe my intuition's wrong, but I'm almost sensing a part 2 of this where we can maybe even dive even deeper into some of these concepts. But I've really enjoyed this chat. I really think that anybody listening is going to be able to take away some good information. So Drew, thank you again for joining. We really appreciate your time. If you're listening and you have not done so yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you like the content that you're hearing. If you find it valuable, go ahead and give us a good rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. And we look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thanks, everybody.